Tonight we have something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with a crime. This is a show where I try to educate real stories.
Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. You know that this is a show where I try to educate you about the criminal justice system through stories. I have a wonderful story for you tonight. I have with me in the studio the famous Craig Washington. He is a lawyer extraordinaire. I am so honored and privileged to have him in the studio to tell this memorable story. I've heard so much about this story for so many years, but I've never really heard it from Craig. So I'm so excited to hear about it. But let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Washington. So he was born in Longview, Texas, but raised in Houston. He attended Thurgood Marshall School of Law and graduated in 1969. He became a lawyer in 1969. But some people know him most famously for having many jobs, many public officials, and trying many famous cases. But I want to take you through his public service. He was in the Texas House of Representatives, the 86th District, January 1973 through January 1983. He was also in the Texas Senate in January of 1983 to January of 1990. And then he succeeded Mickey Leland in Congress. He was a U.S. House Representative, 18th Congressional District. That's that 18th Congressional District that's getting all that attention now that our Governor Abbott is trying to get rid of, but let's talk about it. The Honorable Craig Washington served from 1989, that's when he was elected, to 1995. And he's been an extraordinary lawyer ever since. In fact, he's still trying cases today. So let's just get right to it. I want him to tell us about the famous case of Eroy Brown. Bad Eroy Brown. I've heard so much about it. That case shook up the Texas prison system. It happened at the Ellis unit, the Ellis prison unit, where an incident, approximately 1981, where inmate Eroy Brown killed two high-ranking officials in the prison, and Craig Washington tried that case along with others, the famous Bill Habern, who's no longer with us, and Eroy Brown, a black man, was acquitted of killing two white prison officials. One was even a guard. And that was before cameras. That's when people had to just testify and just tell the story like it is. So I'm not gonna do a lot of talking tonight because we have a rare opportunity to listen to Craig Washington. Thank you, Craig, for telling us the story tonight and just coming from Bastrop to talk to us.
Thank you, Vivian. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Tell us from the beginning.
Tell me what you want to know.
I want to know how you got involved in a case like that. I get calls all the time about people in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And I take some, I've done a few pro bono, but people in prison usually don't have any money.
Right.
So how in the world, as a young lawyer, did you get involved with, a family to support a case in prison?
Well, it started, thank you for asking, it started with Bill Habern. Before I knew anything about it, the Texas legislature was in session, and I was still a member of the Texas House at that time. When Eroy was arrested, he was put in solitary confinement and at the Ellis unit. And they started, the officials there, the district attorney and investigator for the district attorney's office, started piecing together what they thought had happened, taking pictures, doing the usual police work that you would expect to be done. A judge named Max Rogers, may he rest in peace, appointed Bill Habern and a lawyer named Jerry Register to represent Eroy because it was in Walker County. The allegation and the incident occurred in Walker County out on the Ellis unit at a place called Turkey Creek. So Habern and Jerry Register, of course this is hearsay to me, I wasn't there, went to the basement, to the solitary confinement part of the Ellis unit to tell Eroy that they had been appointed to represent him in the case and to advise him of his right to remain silent and that he had lawyers and all of that. I'm told that Jerry Register and Eroy didn't hit it off very well. And Eroy objected. I don't know the circumstances, and it's really not important for the story, but he wanted someone other than, he liked Habern, but he did not like the way that Register was talking to him. I don't know what he was saying. You know, sometimes lawyers will go in, and I'm not accusing Register of this. I only met him 3 or 4 times in my life, but you go in and try to get the clients in the right frame of mind. Okay, you know, you're facing the death penalty and so and so and so. Whatever he said wasn't very well received by Eroy. And so Eroy let Habern know that and said, I like you, but I want to appoint another lawyer. So Habern went back to Judge Rogers, and Judge Rogers asked him for a recommendation, and Bill Habern recommended me.
Gotcha.
That's how I got involved in the case. Anyway, so I first heard about it. I was on the floor of the House, and we used to have telephones then. Had a phone call from my office, says Judge Max Rogers wants to speak to you on the phone. And made a mistake that I'll probably never make again in my life. He said, the session was just ending. I think the incident occurred on April the 4th or something like that. It's somewhere in the back of my brain. He said, Craig, what do you do? Because Judge Rogers and I were on a first name basis because my work, part of my work in the Texas legislature was to deal with the prison system, TDC, Mr. Estelle, Dr. Beto, all of them. I knew them because we had to work together to work out common solutions for common problems that dealt with the prison system. So he said, Craig, what are you doing right now? I said, oh, Judge, I'm not doing anything.
Right.
I'll never say that again.
Oh my God, why did you say that?
I'm not
You're
doing
on the
anything.
floor of the House and you're saying, I'm not doing anything.
I'm not doing anything. The session was just over. He said, good, I got a job for you. I'm appointing you to represent, along with Bill Habern, an inmate who's been charged with a death penalty offense. And Habern knew that I had tried some death penalty cases before, and I knew the procedure, and I knew how to go about doing death penalty work. So anyway, I got appointed. The next thing that happened was they got a change of venue. They got a change of venue from Walker County to Galveston County because it was felt by everyone that Eroy couldn't get a fair trial in Walker County because it's so permeated with officials, employees. When you think of TDC, you think of Walker County.
Right.
I think 3 or 4 units of that. Anyway, right. Whatever it was, they even before I got involved, even probably without a motion being filed, the case was transferred to Galveston County. I first met Eroy after the case was transferred to Galveston County. I packed up my things and moved back home from the end, again, of the legislative session. And we hit it right off. Sat down and told me and Habern what happened. There's another lawyer that I want to mention named Timothy Sloan. You don't hear a lot about her, but she was intimately involved from near the beginning. I didn't know her.
There's a woman named Timothy.
Timothy, a woman named Timothy. I mean, cool chick too. Her father was a judge.
Where was she from? Where did she practice?
Bay City. Her father was a judge in Bay City. At that time, that district included Brazoria County, Matagorda County, and I believe one other county. But her father was well-known, and Gibson, I believe, was his name. Anyway, she was married to Sloan, but I think her maiden name was Gibson. Anyway, wonderful man, judge. But she got involved later. But at that time, it was Habern and I, so when Eroy sat down and explained over a course of some sessions what had happened, we knew we had a defensible case. Eroy killed Warden Pack in self-defense. I'm not sure whether Eroy actually killed Billy Max Moore, who was the farm major. TDC was run then. I can't speak to how it's run now, but it's sort of like a militaristic fashion. You start with a warden as being the chief executive officer of each unit, and then they have two majors, an inside major and an outside major. The outside major is in charge of all the cotton picking and work that the inmates do outside. The inside major is in charge of that part of the prison system. Back then, they had a reputation and bragged on it, that they could produce everything that they needed. In fact, that's what they came and told the legislature when they were getting their appropriations. The only thing they couldn't make was tires, because you can't grow rubber in Texas. But all of the boots that were made, all of the shoes that were made, all of the leather goods that were made from cows that were actually grown on TDC property.
Wow.
The cloth to make their clothes was grown on TDC property down in Sugar Land. There used to be cotton fields down there. So it was almost a self-sufficient system. They make license plates. They make license plates now to sell to other states. So TDC was, among other things, an industry. And hopefully one could gain some skills, some marketable skills that one could use when one got out of prison. But anyway, at that time, Eroy worked in the tire factory, and it developed that inmates, except trustees, don't get out on the weekend, on Saturday and Sunday. Don't get out if you're housed in the unit. Trustees can get outside the building and go to some places. And on this particular date, which I believe again was April 4th, but whatever date it was a Saturday. And Eroy, being a trustee, was out. One of Eroy's jobs was to provide tires that some of the TDC officials' friends were stealing and getting put on their cars. Mm-hmm. There's an instrument made for cutting grass. It's called a Caldwell cutter. You've seen mowing going along the side of highways. This has wings. I mean, it's out wide. Instead of just being like 8 feet, they can have wider. So, and they're cutting the grass on the side of the highways. Well, those Caldwell cutters, just coincidentally, take the same size as the tire that goes on the pickup truck. So there'd be a line of people down there, and I can't say, well, they was buying or paying or what they were doing, but they were getting free tires that were being stolen from TDC and put on their cars, and Eroy was a part of that program. Well, Eroy had a relative to die, and he didn't get to go, like on the furlough, when you have a family member that died, he didn't get to go to the service. And some terminology that I picked up down there that I still use is like running your head. So Eroy was running his head, basically complaining, as much as I've done for Major Moore and them down at the prison system, they wouldn't go to bat for me to get me a furlough to go to Waco, which is where he was from. to his relative's funeral. So Boss Adams, who was a lower level employee, I won't go into some of the old things and names like that they would call. Some of people, so a lot of them just doing their job, but some of them, would find it, you run into people like that find a need to denigrate people by giving them some name that's not associated with them. But anyway, Boss Adams heard Eroy make the comment that he was complaining about not being able to go to the funeral. So Boss Adams, who was in charge of the tire shop that Saturday, called for Eroy to come over there and ask him what he said, and he repeated what he said. Boss Adams made Eroy get in the pickup truck, a TDC pickup truck, and Boss Adams drove Eroy down to the fishing tank where Major Moore, who was off that day, and his brother were fishing. Major Moore didn't know anything about this. So Boss Adams walked down to the edge of the fishing tank and becked again, and Major Moore came over. We don't know what was said because Major Moore died. Major Moore's brother didn't testify that I can recall, and Eroy wasn't able to hear it. Made Eroy sit in the pickup truck. Basically, we surmised that Boss Adams, was telling Major Moore that Eroy was about to snitch on him about stealing the tires. So this whole thing started, and Warden Pack and Major Moore died, because this never would have happened without Boss Adams telling Major Moore what he thought that Eroy was going to do.
Right, gotcha.
Right?
Right.
So Major Moore waved his brother off to go on back to fishing, came and got in the truck. Instead, he got in on the driver's side, made Boss Adams go around to the passenger side. That put Eroy in the middle. They made Eroy take his shoes off. We think that they were going to handcuff Eroy and throw him in the Trinity River and say he tried to escape. That's happened before. Hope it never happens again. But we think that all of the, when you get so many pieces to a puzzle and they start to come together, you can kind of figure out what it looks like is about to happen.
Right, right.
There's no reason in the world for Eroy Brown to have his shoes off.
Right.
Whatever. And I made the jury aware of that during the trial, because every morning after they were introduced, I set them right there in front on the corner right in front of the court reporter. Some exhibits are introduced after it introduces exhibit, it's no longer talked about, it's put on a stack somewhere. Every morning, I would go and put that pair of shoes up on the rail so that the jury, which is right there by the court reporter, and you want the witness box on the side by the jury so they can see and hear. That's why courtrooms, every one I've ever seen, you have the judge up here, you have the witness right here, the clerk is on the other side, because the clerk's taking down, making papers and stuff like that. The court reporter is sitting closest to the witness, so she or he can hear him and make an accurate recording. And the jury's sitting right there, so they can not only see what the witness is saying, but they can observe their demeanor. That's why courtrooms are set up that way.
Right, right.
So every morning, just to remind them, and I'll tell you why later, I'd go get that pair of shoes, which the court reporter is the custodian of the shoes.
Right.
Once they introduce the evidence. I'd go get them and set them up there right on the rail, and they'd stay there all day. The reason I did that, I'm gonna jump to that and come back, is because Eroy, I'm gonna tell you why later on, Eroy had a bullet hole in his foot. He got it that day, but there was none in the shoe.
In the shoes. It was none in the shoe.
It was none in the shoe.
Wow.
So that proved they couldn't lie their way out of saying that they made him take his shoes off. But how can he have a bullet hole in his foot and none in the shoe?
Right. He got shot in the foot during the skirmish.
Wasn't no skirmish. W.J. Estelle, who was then the director of the Department of Corrections, Fair, honest man. He and I worked together on a lot of things. Again, I'm not bragging. This is God's work. This ain't my work.
Right.
Came and testified to the truth. You're not supposed to have a gun where an inmate can get to it in a prison unit. Old expression. Ain't no fun when the rabbit's got the gun.
Right.
Right. So you keep the guns locked up unless there's a need for them. They don't go down the hallways feeding the inmates with a gun brandished in a holster on their side. The guns are locked up unless they're needed. When Warden Pack came down after being called about the need to come down because Eroy Brown was causing trouble down there, he came down there in a state-owned vehicle with a gun either in his glove box or in his trunk, neither of which he's supposed to have. When you arrive at the unit, if you're the warden of XYZ unit, you have to secure that gun, lock it up. You're supposed to have it, but it's better to lock it up in the trunk than leave it in the glove box because people can get in the glove box. You don't want the inmate getting his or her hands on the gun. Right. So when Warden Pack gets down there, parks the car, by this time they got Eroy out of the truck and he's standing on the side of the vehicle with his arms up, spread eagle over the vehicle. Warden Pack and Major Moore back at the back talking. Don't know what was said. They're both dead. They both end up being dead, so they didn't testify at the trial. But anyway, two inmates named Solomon and Doosan were down working at what they call the garden shed, who were also trustees. The garden shed is probably about the length of a football field from where Turkey Creek is. They're watching to see what's going on. They see a TDC car come up. They recognize the warden. He hadn't been the warden at that Ellis unit that long. And they naturally recognized Major Moore. So they can't hear what's going on, but they can look out the window and see. They see Eroy start to run around to the other side, from the passenger side where he'd been up like this, around to the driver's side. They see Warden Pack reach in from the passenger side of the vehicle in the glove box. They can't see whether he comes out with a pistol or not. But then they see him push the button and the trunk opens. By that time, Eroy's running back around. Major Moore's got Eroy stopped. They put Eroy up on the side of the car like this. Warden Pack has a .38 snub nose, hammerless revolver up to the left side of his head, of Eroy's head. Major Moore reaches and grabs Eroy by the right arm, pulls it down, by the left arm, pulls it down and put the handcuffs on him. So they got one handcuff behind him. They got a gun up to his head on this side. Eroy brain tells him, if they get that other handcuff on you,
I'm gone.
You're shit out of luck.
You shit out of luck.
For good.
Forever.
So when Major Moore reaches to grab Eroy's arm, Eroy slaps the gun down. Mm-hmm. That's when he got shot in the foot. All of them fell back with the report of a gun. The gun goes off, hits Eroy in the foot. Warden Pack drops the gun because it went off, I guess. Everybody was startled by the gun going, because nobody expected Eroy to do that.
Right.
He'd have been a dead man right then and there, and we never would have heard him, none of this would have happened if they got that other handcuff on him. Because they're going to drown him.
Right.
No other reason to take an inmate's shoes off. In fact, it's forbidden. Mm-hmm. You don't take an inmate. He can get all kind of worms and stuff in his foot out there. Right. Come on now.
Right.
They never had an excuse for how he had his shoes off. That's why I had them shoes up there every day. So every day for the whole trial. Every day for the whole trial.
That was excellent strategy.
Thank you. So when the gun goes off, Major Moore, who's on this side, I think Major Moore was much a victim of Warden Pack's misconduct, as was, to be honest with you, because, not to say I'm not trying to paint him in a cloud of glory or anything like that, but Major Moore and Eroy got along fine. He was, you know, they have a warden's boy, that's your personal
Trustee.
Trustee, but aide-de-camp is what they call it in the military, you know, your personal assistant.
Your valet.
Your valet.
What they call it in, you know.
In fact, if you remember earlier, I said, as much as I've done for Major Moore and them, he could have gone to bed for me and gotten me a furlough. It was just to go to an auntie's funeral or something like that in Waco. Anyway, Major Moore, I don't think he wasn't malicious in this at all. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong guy, which was Warden Pack. Now, Warden Pack had been transferred to that unit from another unit where he was warden and had a bad reputation, where in order to punish an inmate on one occasion, he had the inmate put in a straitjacket and tied to the bars upside down with it overnight.
Oh my God.
That's
cruel. Now that's cruel and unusual punishment.
Yeah, he didn't have a good reputation among any of the inmates. I can't remember the unit he was on before then, but anyway, I'm not trying to besmirch him now. They all dead and gone. I'm just
stating facts.
I'm stating facts that's in the record. Anyway, so a tussle ensues. Some of your viewers may know what a tussle is. A tussle ensues over the gun between Warden Pack, because it's on his side and it's his gun. So he and Eroy both died for the gun. Mm-hmm. But Eroy comes up with the gun. Between the two of them, probably stronger, you know, you get strong.
Working out in that field.
Right. So Eroy's got the gun. And then, like I said, ain't no fun
when the rabbit's
got the gun.
Ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun.
So they're moving around. I guess he can't get to the radio to figure out how to call for some more help or something like that. Nobody else came doing any of this until the incident was over. Then Warden Williamson ended up coming down. I guess Solomon Dewson, one of them's from Dallas, or maybe both of them from Dallas, didn't have a phone in there, and they didn't call for some help to come get anyway. So Warden Pack gets Eroy down on the ground. Eroy's back is on the ground, faces up, with Warden Pack on top of him. And they're still tussling, trying to get control of the gun. I know from the evidence that the gun went off while they were tussling over it. I don't know whose finger was on the trigger, whether it was Eroy's or both of them's finger on the trigger. You know, there's a pistol, they got a trigger guard on them. It was like it's a hammerless pistol though. But anyway, and we had experts to come testify about the pull strength and all of that, because the state let us hire expert witnesses and stuff like that to be able to show that. Anyway, in the middle of the struggle, the gun goes off. That's why I say that I don't think that Billy Max Moore, I think he was more of a victim than anything, but that was for God to decide. We had the clothes that Warden Pack was wearing. In junior high school, they teach you about, when you're doing artwork, about a thing called a dowel. Mm-hmm. It's a long piece of wood about this long, like a pointer. It's cylindrical. We took a pointer and showed how we bought a dummy, a styrofoam dummy, put Warden Pack's clothes on him, and showed how the bullet went through his shirt, came out his shirt, went through his shirt here, came out his shirt here, and hit Billy Max Moore in the middle of the forehead. Because Billy Max Moore was behind him trying to help him. Warden Pack was down on top, like two people wrestling or something. Warden Pack's on top of Eroy, they struggling over the gun. Major Moore's, I guess, trying to help get the gun from Eroy, which would have been a logical thing to do. But in the midst of all that, the gun goes off. Nobody shoots Major Moore with the gun like this. The same bullet that went through that shirt and came out that shirt is the one that hit Major Moore in the middle of the forehead. And he was dead right then.
But Pax didn't get shot. Or did he get shot in the arm? Or
no.
It just traveled up his shirt.
Right.
Did it go
they
through
were
his
fighting.
Did it go through his body?
No.
It just passed all the way.
He drowned to death. I'm gonna tell you about that later.
Wow.
I'm probably gonna run out of time. Let me.
No, you're not gonna run out of time.
Okay.
We got plenty of time.
Okay. So anyway, Major Moore falls back. He's not part of the deal anymore. Eroy has gotten control of the gun. Eroy testifies that, see what you done, or some words to that effect. Warden Pack, you didn't kill Major Moore, Major Moore's dead over there. Why don't you just stop all this? Let's go on back to the unit. He's pleading with him to give up the struggle. You can tell that from forensics. Eroy's got the gun. This is Turkey Creek, which is a waterway, which is really a sewage waterway I'll talk about that later, coming from the unit. But the significant thing is that Eroy has the gun. So Eroy is standing up on top of the bridge. He still doesn't know that Solomon and Deucin are over there. So they call for, he's trying to get some help down there, Eroy. In order to try to come up behind him, during the struggle, Warden Pack's skin is broken. I can't think of a better. He was bleeding.
Okay.
I can't remember, but from the impact of the struggle, it wasn't, nobody cut him, anything like it was the struggle over the gun. It wasn't the bullet. We proved that the bullet didn't strike him. But Eroy's up on top of the bridge. Warden Pack is going to try to be slick and come around behind him. So he goes down under the bridge, and all bridges have cement support both this way and that way. We know that because we can see where he touched his blood, proved it was his blood, touching up against the post. He's trying to sneak up behind Eroy to jump him again to try to get the gun. The gun is the centerpiece of everything in the pair of shoes. So he comes up behind him, and they engage in another struggle. To keep Warden Pack from getting the gun, Eroy throws the gun in the middle of the Turkey Creek, which is the waterway. Warden Pack dives into, no, I take that back. I think it was Eroy. Eroy, one of them dove into the waterway it's mud on the bottom, scrambling around. It wasn't that deep, it wasn't like over the head, 2 or 3 feet of water, waist high, so trying to find where the gun had landed in the water, because again, the gun is the most important thing among all of them. Mm-hmm. I believe it must have been Eroy. The reason I'm thinking it was Eroy, and the transcript will bear it out, nobody's gonna go look. Warden Pack jumped on Eroy's back and pushed him down to try to drown him under that water while he was looking for the gun. Well, growing up, there's a game called leapfrog that we used to play.
Okay, don't get up too much, you'll lose your mic.
So Eroy is down, one pack is behind him, holding him down under the water.
Right.
Eroy scoots out through behind one pack's legs, and guess who's in front, get pushed under the water then?
Packs.
You're right. And that's where he died. He was drowned to death. He wasn't shot, he wasn't cut, he wasn't kicked, he wasn't brutalized, his ribs weren't broken. He drowned to death in the shit that was on the bottom of Turkey Creek.
Damn. Wow.
You could prove it because it was in his nostrils when he did the autopsy report.
Was it alleged that Eroy held him down and drowned him?
No. You ever been to Galveston?
Yes.
You stick your foot under some water, there's almost into some dirt or any kind. There's more resistance to letting your foot back out than there was going in.
Right.
I don't know whether Eroy assisted in holding him down or what, but he drowned.
Right.
In any event, it was in self-defense.
Right.
So then, by that time, here comes Warden Williamson, who was assistant warden, and the whole cadre of TDC, blue and white uniform, they come down there. Drove up, and first words out of his mouth was, Eroy was coming up the embankment, and Warden Williamson said, hold him up there, Eroy. And he said, what happened here? Eroy said, a man's got to do what a man's got to do. They took him into custody. They could have killed him then if there had been an ill will and said that something bad had happened to him. He tried to escape. They didn't. TDC officials acted properly. They arrested him, for potentially committing a crime like you're supposed to do, put him in solitary confinement down in the basement, of the Ellis unit, where he couldn't be attacked by either inmates or guards, called the sheriff of Walker County. The Texas Ranger came out there. Warden Williamson was there. The district attorney of Walker County was out there. And they took a recorded statement from Solomon and Doosan. But,
now, if they lied, did they tell the truth?
Well, let me tell you, when the word...
I know that they can get
let me tell you,
some good time or some good stuff if they lie.
You're just so brilliant. When word spread as to what had happened, it was mess time, eating time. Solomon and Doosan said, that's our ticket home. In other words, we'll lie, we'll say whatever y'all need us to say to lay it on Eroy Brown. But the problem was they took 3 statements from him. The first statement was closer to the truth, but then they started getting questions from some of the people in the room that were trying to turn the conversation in a certain way. That's why you should always have your lawyer present rather than let them. Eroy didn't have no lawyer present at that time.
Right, and that's why you need a lawyer present.
That's why you need a lawyer present, right?
Because
if you're gonna make a statement at all, you want to make sure that, one, you got somebody that's not on their side as a witness to the statement, but thank God they were recorded.
Right.
And they had to give that to me in discovery. So you hear version 1 of what Solomon and Doosan said. And then the Texas Ranger shows up and they start adding things and deleting things and scooting things around, and the story changed. And then they added things and deleted things, and the story changed a 3rd time. I get all of that in discovery. The most important part of which, they were the length of a football field away.
So
how in the hell could they see what was being done?
Right.
In addition, most of them trucks, you've seen them have them big wire screen things look like chain link fence on the back.
Right.
That's to keep stuff that ships on the back of the truck from breaking out the back window of a pickup truck.
Right.
They're gonna see through that. It's not them looking at it like this, it's them looking 100 yards to see through it. They couldn't see shit.
Right, right.
But they were made to say what they need to say, and they came to testify. At the last trial, they had to drag one of them up on the witness stand. I done cut his ass up so many times in so many pieces at the first trial. You know, we tried this case 3 times.
That's what's important about saying. 3
Right.
times.
3
It was
times.
hung juries twice.
Hung jury once.
Once.
Hung jury, the first time it was 11-1 for not guilty. 11-1 the first time for not guilty. One lady, I asked that the jury be sequestered. They were sequestered. One lady said that she dreamt, that's the past indefinite tense of dreamed. Stop, Craig. That she dreamt that they had found him not guilty, and that they came back in the courtroom and announced their verdict, and Eroy jumped up and says, I fooled all of y'all, I did it.
Oh, wow.
That was a dream.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She was the cat lady.
She was the cat lady.
Yeah, I'm suspicious of
Cat
cat ladies to this very day.
Sneaky.
11-1 for not guilty.
And you're going to do it based on a dream.
Right. Anyway, so Judge Dallahite, who's a wonderful judge, had to declare a mistrial because the jury was hopelessly deadlocked. Judge Dallahite had been the victim, his parents had been the victim of the Texas City disaster, the explosion down there where them ships burned up in Texas, in the Galveston Bay. And I think that made him a very compassionate man. He may have been going to be one anyway, Henry G. Dallahite, but he was just as fair as you can be. But anyway, so when we get ready to go to trial, we got 2 different capital murder cases. You're not entitled to try both of those together unless you want to. I didn't let them know that I wasn't intended to try both of them together until the morning of trial. The element of surprise is the first order of war, according to Sung Soo. The first element of surprise is the first order of war is the element of surprise. So I came in with my motion to sever because the state can try as many robbery cases as they want to. If Junior Boy got 16 robberies, they want to try them all together, they can. That's called joinder. But if you're charged with an offense against a person, you have to try them, you need the permission of the defendant to try them all at one time. And I knew from day one that we want to try those 2 cases together. First of all, because of all the evidence that I'm going over with you now, but just tactically speaking. So we went in chambers with the motion, and Judge Dallahite was standing there, and the district attorney, nice man, name was Mark Ward. I presented my motion in chambers, and we thought we were going to get to try them both together, so and so. I said, I tell you what, I'll make you a deal. Held out my hand like this and shook his hand. I said, if you convict him of capital murder, I knew which one they're going to try first. They're going to try the highest ranking one,
right.
the warden. If you convict him of capital murder, I'll plead him guilty for life on the other one. And we shook hands. And Judge Dallahite saw us shake hands. So when we came back for the retrial, he recused himself.
Who did? The judge?
Yeah, because he knew that he was going back on his word.
Right.
Mark Ward went back on his word, and the judge knew it because he saw us shake hands, because he didn't get a conviction on the first one. And after he was found not guilty on the second trial in Galveston, then that should have been the end of it.
Right.
And he recused himself. He says, I'm not going to try another one of these. So they brought in a judge from Brownsville to try the third one. And we got to change the venue to Edinburgh, and that's why the third trial was in Edinburgh.
Okay.
But anyway, back to Timothy. So Anthony Griffin was another lawyer. Didn't know him from Adam. He didn't know me from Adam. And I've known that about 2 or 3 lawyers. Hinojosa down in the. Sometimes I go places and sit down to try a case, and some lawyer that I've never seen before shows up and sits beside me. Say, I know you don't know the jurors down here. I'm here to help.
All right. That's
Anthony
teamwork.
Griffin did that.
In Galveston.
Plotted out the neighborhoods. So I could tell, you can't tell from a jury information card, they live at 1234 Sycamore Street. You don't know if that neighborhood has a certain reputation this way or that way. You can't ask them 1,000 questions, you can't follow them home. So you have to make some general rationalizations about how they might feel about things based upon where they live. In other words, before this last hurricane, when you drive down Broadway on the left-hand side, all those government-subsidized homes used to be a big complex of. They called it the jungle. That's what even the people who live there called it the jungle.
Damn.
The jungle.
That's bad.
Yeah. So anyway, Anthony was instrumental. They didn't stay through the whole trial, but I mean, he was there for what was important. Scott Carpenter. I was standing in the elevator bank one day, didn't know him from Adam, in Harris County. He walked up and said, "Excuse me, are you Craig Washington?" I said, "Yes, sir." He's the author of some books now. He's a smart, brilliant guy. He says, "You're going to need a place to stay when you're in Galveston, Vivian." I live across the street from the courthouse.
Wow.
God gave me that.
Wow.
God gave me that. Johnny Henderson, may he rest in peace, was a labor union leader. And every morning, every evening when we got in from court, 2 of his sisters would have 2 different kind of meats, 3 or 4 different kind of vegetables waiting for us to eat when we got across the street, catty corner across the street from the courthouse.
Wow.
We had to walk less than a block from the courthouse because it took like forever. It looked like 3 weeks or so to pick a jury even. But every day they would have food. I mean, cornbread.
Good food.
Oh yeah, I mean, black-eyed peas and okra.
You talking my language.
Different and more than one kind of meat.
Wow.
We sit there and eat, and then they would excuse themselves, wouldn't let us wash the dishes, and then we could sit there in Scott Carpenter's house, which is a 2-story house, beautiful house, it's still there. And I thank him again for God sending him to us. Anyway, and we could decompress about what had gone on that day.
Got to do it in trial, baby.
And get ready for the next day. Right. Who's going to take this witness? Who's going to take that witness? Timothy Sloan was another one. We found out that some of the people lived across on Bolivar Peninsula. And I never use race unless it's important. But she was a white person, good lawyer, excellent lawyer. So she infiltrated the bars and things over on the Bolivar. You have to go across the ferry to go to the Bolivar side, like you're going toward Beaumont and up that way, High Island.
Right.
She infiltrated them and got in with them and got to know what they were thinking and saying about the case and stuff like that, because it was in all the papers and stuff like that and on TV every day. And not only that, but she's an excellent lawyer. She'd been a lawyer, assistant district attorney down in Fort Bend County before I ever met her. But anyway, she's a friend of Habern. She stayed with us throughout the trial. We had a nice little team. We had another lawyer who's now dead. I can't think of his name. One morning, when we started calling witnesses, the first morning, the jail didn't have enough room for all these TDC witnesses to stay. So the sheriff asked me if I would give him like 4 or 5 names a day of people that I anticipated calling. Naturally, you want to get them down a day or so you could refresh their memory. By the way, Kent Schaffer, who wasn't a lawyer at the beginning of it, was an investigator. He was in law school. Kent Schaffer was hired by me and appointed by the court to be the investigator. So he would go up to the inmates. So I started getting letters from all over about things that Warden Pack had done. That's how I know about this incident about him hanging a man upside down. I had a man come in and testify that Warden Pack, in one of those units, I can't think of the name of the unit. It might have been the same unit, but you know, they give them names. They don't mean nothing. You know, it was like it was whisperedly known as, no such word probably, as the crazy unit. I can't think of the name of that unit, but that's where they would send the inmates that were having some mental difficulties.
Was that in Fort Worth? No, that's federal.
They do now. That was Carswell was an Air Force base. That's for federal, right?
It's federal, okay.
This man was trying to get out. He was from San Antonio too. He was trying to get out from down there so bad, he had cut himself. Oof. Not the same day.
Yeah, he just started cutting.
Start with an E, I can't think of it. Yeah, he was what they call a cutter.
Cutter, yeah.
They have people that are called cutters to try to get out to get to John Seeley so they could get some medical treatment so they wouldn't have to go back to the unit for whatever reason. The judge let him roll up his sleeve and let the jury see it. It's at least 6 or 7 cross cuts like this. And all stitched up, you know, not all at the same time. This is over the course of some years. I can't remember, I swore I'd never forget his name as long as I live.
He was trying to get out of there, but he was trying to get out of there.
He's trying to get out of there.
And did he testify about how cruel Pack was?
Yeah, he was one of the ones that testified about the Pack hanging the man upside down.
In a straitjacket.
I'm talking about the man's feet, nothing could touch the ground. I mean.
I'm surprised he didn't die.
I'm surprised he didn't die too, with the blood going to his head.
For
right.
24 hours.
With straitjackets on, which means he couldn't even help lift himself up. Anyway.
That's the most cruel thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is, anyway.
That's enough to run you crazy.
So
the cutter is testifying.
So the cutter's testified. So they had this guy from FBI guy from up east somewhere. He was real proper talking. And he came to testify. And so I looked at his credentials and stuff like that, and I did one thing that you're not supposed to do. I live by a book called The 4 Agreements, and one of them is don't make assumptions. And I assumed that he was going to be an asshole, and I was correct, but not because I shouldn't make assumptions. So on direct examination, he's answering all the questions and stuff like that, and you know, just kind of, you know, when people give you that look, he's waiting on my cross-examination, and so I broke it down to, excuse me, sir, and the jury immediately knew what I was doing. I made him think that I thought like I spoke. So he started lecturing me. I got a man from Dallas that's got a PhD in what he's testifying about, named Larry, I think his name was Larry Fleming. I had what you call it, pathologist and a gun expert hired on our side.
Okay.
We hadn't even put our case on yet. But he's lecturing me like I'm about maybe 8 or 9 years old, maybe in the 3rd or 4th grade, but I don't know shit because I talk flat like that now. I'm from Texas.
Right.
Snatch his panties off right in the middle of the room.
Wow. So you start off talking, yes, sir.
Yeah.
And then how'd you break?
I flipped it on him.
How'd you flip the script on?
After he got through lecturing me on, it was some aspect of, it had to do with the forensic report is what it was. They had taken, it was the hammerless pistol about the trigger pull on it. And he just gave me a good old country boy, East Texas, talking crazy to about that. And then I started asking him about the nomenclature of the weapon. and where it was made, and the serial number on it, and how many of those were made, and where they were made, and why were they being made, and why were they hammerless? And he didn't have an answer for none of them. So he slithered off the witness stand when his term was over. They didn't have nothing to ask him on the redirect exam. They wanted him out of there as quick as they could, because I pulled his panties down right there in front of everybody, and everybody on the jury knew it.
Right.
The first question I asked him, because I hadn't been talking like that during the whole trial. I'm talking like I'm talking now, and then all of a sudden I said, "Excuse me, sir.
Would you explain?
Would you explain? Not explain.
Would you
not explain, but explain.
Would you explain?
Would you explain this to me?" And then might even put an Uncle Willie scratch on my head in there while I'm doing it.
Explain to me.
I had fun with him.
You know I've had fun before.
Yes.
But this is about you, Mr. Craig.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
No.
We all do. That's why we're trial lawyers.
Right.
Yeah.
No. I want to know. I don't know anything about this.
I don't know nothing about this. Don't know. Come here from Sikkim.
Sure don't. Whatever that is, what you said.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got him off the witness stand.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, we put our case on in hung jury. We retried it.
Now, are you still trying the Warden's case? Are we talking about the Warden, or have we moved on to?
No, we retried the Warden's after.
And that got the not guilty. So the third trial is going to be
in Edinburgh.
Moore.
That was Moore, and that was a not guilty in Edinburgh.
Okay, so you only tried Moore once, and you had to try Warden twice. Okay.
Right.
Warden Pack.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
We tried that in Edinburgh. The foreman of the jury in Edinburgh, I think they were out for like an hour or so.
Wow.
And sent out a note saying that they had a verdict, but they wanted to have lunch first. They find out from the bailiff that if you
good lunch.
They get the free lunch.
They get the free lunch.
Yeah, so they got the free lunch. Then they came back with their verdict. And Judge Darrell Hester was the judge on that case.
Oh, you remember his name?
Yeah, he had been he was the judge on the case I tried involving the two basketball players before that from Edinburgh, the Pan American University. Before that, that was the first celebrated case that I had. But anyway, he didn't like that verdict either. But he left the courthouse without signing the discharge order because Eroy had done all his time on the sentence he was originally there for, found not guilty on a pending indictment on Judge Moore, on Warden Pack, and had just been found not guilty on the others. He was free to go. He was ATW, that's called all the way. From the front door and Shel Weinstein was down there with me by that time, I'm sorry for talking so loud.
No, I like it. Get excited.
By that time, when we get ready, I forgot to tell you about this. Was that the same case? Yeah. I forgot about that. Kent Schaffer had been an investigator. Kent Schaffer came back. I hope I'm not confusing the case. No, I don't think so. Kent Schaffer came back and was my second chair lawyer.
Oh, because he had gotten his
He had become a lawyer by then, right. So
that's on the third trial.
Habern wasn't on the retrial, I don't think, maybe.
Okay.
I'm not confused, I may. Anyway, Kent, I want to mention this, I want to lift this up for all young lawyers, especially to see. So we go back to trial, as an appointed lawyer, the day after the hung jury, I requested in writing a copy of the transcript from the first trial, which you are, as you know, entitled, without more and without question. So I wait, and I wait. I'm good at asking, but I'm not good at begging. So we show up for trial 9 months later, girl.
With no transcript?
We walk in the courtroom. Pete Moore is the judge by that time. Wallace Seymour, no relation to Billy Maximore. Pete Moore happened to be a judge here in Harris County. He was a judge at the 184th Court, and he had been assigned, without my knowledge, to retry Eroy.
In Galveston.
And that's why the law, I put in the law, I wrote it myself and put it in the law. They have to post a notice if they're having a visiting judge come.
Oh yeah, and they still do it.
They have to do it, it's in the law, I put it in the law. I'm not patting myself on the back, but it's the benefit of experience. You're entitled to know who the judge is going to be.
Exactly.
So I show up down there and Pete Moore is my judge. Well, the problem I got with Pete Moore is that he had presided over a trial that I had while I represented the TSU law student they called the Blade Rapist. And I caught him and two lawyers whom I won't name back, he was coaching them during a recess.
Coaching the prosecutors.
Coaching the prosecutors during a recess during a trial. Because we had gotten a hung jury on that case and we were retrying it. And he was back in there telling them how to beat Craig. This is the way you do, try to make him mad, do this stuff. So anyway, when he shows up down there, first of all, I ain't ready no way. So, you know, hey, what says the state? State's ready, Your Honor. What says the defense? I stood up and said, please the court, I'm not ready. He said, may I ask why? I said, yes, sir, because I'm entitled to a transcript and I don't have it. He says, well, you can read it while we're picking the jury. I said, I'm gonna read it before I announce ready. I'm gonna read it before I announce ready. I won't be ready without it.
All right, Craig, I love it.
So he says, to what extent are you not gonna participate? I had already told Kent, Schaffer, and Eroy, don't stand up. Y'all, this ain't your fight, this is my fight with him, and it's really about something else. So he says, to what extent? I mean, I'm courteous and liar. I ain't no crazy.
You're always polite in court.
Yeah, I might be crazy, but I don't act crazy, hopefully. Anyway, so I stood up and said, not at all, Your Honor. I'm not going to voir dire the jury. I'm not going to call any witnesses. I'm not going to cross-examine any witnesses. I'm not going to make an opening statement. I'm not going to participate at all. You can make me sit here, but you can't make words come out of my mouth. He says, I hate that, Mr. Washington, you used to be a good lawyer. And I said, I hate that you used to be a good judge. Remember Leroy Green. He excused himself.
Get it, Craig. You got him out of there.
He excused himself.
Right. That's the way you do it, baby.
And that's when we got Darrell Hester as the judge. He recused him because he knows I'm right.
He knew you were right.
Right don't make nothing but right.
Right.
And he knew I knew it. And I was not going to be quiet about it.
Right.
Right. I hadn't said anything about, I hadn't gone to the newspaper about how he and
those prosecutors,
one who ended up becoming a judge,
of course,
were back there educating each other about how to beat Craig on the Leroy Spencer Green case. I never said anything about it. I don't cry. I find a way to get back at you. Anyway, we're back on. Okay, so Eroy, the same judge, Darrell Hester, that had presided over the not guilty verdicts on the two basketball players that were charged with rape down there from Brownsville, that was brought in because the local judge had to recuse himself because his daughter was a cheerleader. Anyway, left without signing an order
to release
it.
Right.
We sent over to Brownsville and got it, had somebody drive over it. I think Shell drove over there and got it and brought it back. And we filed it. And then we were standing, got a picture of us standing in the back of my car with the trunk open for Eroy Brown to get all the way.
Wow, y'all got him out. Thank you, Lord.
That's the end of Eroy Brown.
Eroy Brown, a book was written about that, if anybody's interested.
Yeah.
About bad Eroy Brown.
The trials of Eroy Brown. We're trying to collaborate on making a movie about that. I want
right, but
Denzel
you didn't write
Washington.
that book, though.
No,
No,
I
you
want
want
Denzel.
Oh my
wanted
God.
to play me.
After
Denzel's my
Training Day.
cousin, you know.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I want him to play me in the movie.
That would be great.
Habern was
a great lawyer, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, he couldn't tell it with you. So
Yeah.
we still have a little time left if you want to tell us about another case.
What
That's
else?
very interesting. But I know we're ready for this one because
The
it's
Lord
a great
is
one. The Lord has
so
been
good.
so good.
So many places.
I know, in so many good places.
You know, I lost my job at TSU. I got fired from TSU.
Why?
I graduated from law school in 66, 69, wasn't it?
60.
Yeah, 69.
69.
Yeah,
69.
I graduated from law school in 69. The next day I became the assistant dean of the law school, the first
wow.
assistant dean that they ever had.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I recruited, the law school was about to be closed. It was under a phase-out order, which I didn't know about, from the Texas legislature because the classes were too small, and the University of Houston Law School, University of Houston had been a private institution, and the state adopted and made University of Houston a public institution of higher education. Before that, it was a private school. Set up by the Cullen, that's why the street is named Cullen over there.
Gotcha.
Okay? So then they said, well, you can't have two law schools that close together. And this one's producing 100 and something graduates a year, and this poor little TSU is only producing 15 or 20, and that's a waste of money. So we're gonna, this class, not my class, but the class that started the year after me was to have been the last law school class at Texas Southern University. So then, I was the president of the Student Bar Association. I hate to use the word "I" so much.
Oh, no, this is about you. We want to know your history. Come on. We're documenting the history.
God.
And some of the phenomenal things that Craig Washington did. Talk to us, Craig. You were the president. This is important. This is why we're doing this.
We went before the coordinating board, the president of the Houston Bar Association, the dean of the law school, and myself all spoke. And we got them to lift the stay out, the phase out order to close the law school. Ford Foundation gave us $500,000, which was a lot of money back in those days.
Wow.
To increase the enrollment, modernize the library, and hire more faculty. I was charged with the responsibility of recruiting new law students to go to Texas Southern. There was a program started by the Ford Foundation called the CLEO program.
Okay, I've heard of that.
CLEO, Council on Legal Educational Opportunity. They would set up like summer camps for people who wanted to go to law school in different places. They didn't have one at Texas Southern, they had one at Southern. Anyway, I was charged with the responsibility of going to primarily the HBCUs that would invite me and receive me to recruit people to come to Texas Southern. So I started in right outside, not Cheney State, whatever the school is right outside of Philadelphia. And I went to every HBCU from there to Florida.
Wow.
By car.
Wow.
Took me like a month I was gone. And whenever you kind of direct yourself toward, if they didn't have a pre-law program, and most of them didn't unless they had a law school, the political science teachers.
Right.
And they would gather some students. I might have 8 or 10 students, and I would go there and talk to them to recruit them to come to TSU Law School. And they would make an application. I was also the dean of admissions. Anyway, so then they had it allocated so that you would get so much for scholarships for these young people to come.
The Ford Foundation did some good work.
Yeah. I went over to, it's no longer there. You know where the Harris County Forensic Hospital is?
On OST?
No, on South McGregor.
Oh, yes.
That's a forensic, that's not the forensic, it's people that have emotional problems.
Yeah, mental.
It used to be an apartment.
Right.
It used to be an apartment complex there called Fieldtown. Okay. I went over and negotiated with the owner of Fieldtown that if he would reduce the rent of these students that were coming by 50%, I could guarantee him 50 apartments to be rented. Mm-hmm. So basically it became the dormitory. So we paid the money for their rent, mm-hmm. and we gave them the rest of the money to buy books as part of their scholarship. So
wow.
The Ford had set it up for us to be able to get 50 students. I got 100. I increased the enrollment from TSU Law School from the 30 or so that graduated in my class
Wow.
to over 100 in the class that entered that year. And I can count among them some of the illustrious lawyers that you
Know and love.
know and love and practice with every day. Yeah, and I'm proud of that.
And you should be. That's great. But I didn't know the Ford Foundation did anything like that. So that was
$500,000. That was a lot of money back in those days.
that's a lot of money now. Let me have it. So so that's great. So do you want to tell us? We have about 15 minutes. Do you have another 15-minute story that you could tell us?
About law? Oh, let me tell you one about the case in Edinburgh. That is really important.
Yes.
2 basketball players,
What
both
school?
of them were in the top 20.
Remember what school?
Pan American University used to be the name of the school down there. It's University of Texas at,
A&M now. I think.
yeah. It's associated with one of those.
A&M,
Or
UT,
either UT or A&M.
A&M, okay.
Both of them were in the top, 2 of the basketball players were in the top 20 basketball players in college players in the country. And so Gabby McDonald had just moved to Texas and married Mark. And she called me in a frantic one day because we studied for the bar together and took the bar together, and told me, which I should have known better, that there were 2 guys getting ready to be put to trial without a lawyer.
No, that wasn't true.
I didn't think about the fact. I mean, I get so emotional, I guess, I immediately jumped to attention. So,
So what'd you tell her? You gonna take one and I'm gonna take one?
no, I should have told her that.
Yeah.
She didn't like criminal. She was legal defense fund.
And
right.
she did employment law back
Yeah,
then.
she came from the legal defense fund. She was the director of the legal defense fund when she and Mark met and got married through the NBA.
Gotcha.
But she got me all riled up about Warren Burnett was their lawyer. I don't know if you know Warren Burnett,
I
but
do not.
you need to know. I called him Golden Throat. He had the most beautiful voice you've ever heard. And another thing, being young and following Mr. Wade around, is the judges. I sued Muhammad Ali one time too. You didn't know
I didn't know you sued Muhammad Ali.
I sure did, because one of his bodyguards beat up a young lady who was one of the camp followers. They followed the basketball.
Right.
They followed basketball players too, but this was
before
boxers.
they called them groupies.
Yeah, they were. I call them camp followers.
Okay,
There
that's
goes,
nice.
Hannibal had camp followers. That's 1,000 years ago. And the women were for the safety. You're gonna go where the men are. If the men are gonna go off the water, women are gonna go off. They're not gonna be left there in the village by themselves.
Yep, absolutely.
I understand.
And now we're on to the basketball players.
So they get charged with rape. It was called rape then. Anyway, they get charged. Now, that's the one time that I would admit to malpractice in my whole life.
Oh my God.
I mean, I'm sure there were some other instances. I represented both of them. You're not supposed to represent co-defendants.
Right. She should have represented one.
She should have represented one. Anyway, they were found not guilty. The point I want to make is, when I get down there, okay, she riles me up, she being Gabby. I drive down, I don't even know where Edinburgh is. Back in those days, they didn't have all this GPS and stuff. You would go to Gulf Oil or Humble Oil or to some service station, and they have a whole big old Texas map. And you could plot out your route on what road you need to take. She must have told me about that on a Monday or Tuesday. That Thursday, during the night, I drove all the way from Houston to Edinburgh.
By yourself?
By myself.
You were going to represent them for free?
I'm going to tell you that part too.
Okay.
I drive down there, I get there about 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't have no hotel or nothing. First of all, the school couldn't pay for their defense.
Okay.
I sleep on the parking lot. I get up, go in there, brush my teeth. There's 1 or 2 times in my life that I can recall, ever dressing in a men's restroom. And by the way, anyway, I dressed, put my little suit on, got my little Samsonite briefcase that was about this wide. I go back out to the car, and nobody told me there was any celebrity associated. And it wasn't for that reason. They needed a lawyer. So I walked back across the street and marched over to the courthouse, and when I opened the door, there's more TV cameras than I'd ever seen in my life. The first time I'd been one time before I'd seen something. But anyway, they were all glaring at me, and I'm walking up the stairs to the second floor, and the basketball coach and the athletic director are waiting on me at the top of the stairs. They whisked me off into a little room, introduced me to my clients, because literally, this is your client, so this is your client.
Trial's
So we
about to start?
Huh?
And the trial's about to
No,
start?
no, they didn't have no lawyer.
Okay.
It was the last pre-trial before trial.
Gotcha.
So we go in, the district attorney's name was Oscar McGinnis, I never forget. Anyway, we went in the courtroom, and I announced, judge for the defense, no.
Lawyer for the defense.
Lawyer for the defense, no. Underdog here for the two guys.
I know.
Anyway, they set a court date. This was I was running for the legislature, as a matter of fact. I hadn't even been elected. That was in the springtime when I was running for the legislature, because I was elected before I went back down there. I was elected. The primaries used to be held in June. But anyway, so I go back down there, and we have the trial, and I represent both of them. When I first got there, the courtroom was about the size, not as big as a gymnasium, but about half, just like those big courtrooms we have over at 301 before they messed all that over 301 Sanders Center.
Right. The big
impressive courtroom.
Impressive, yes.
Yeah, pews and all that stuff.
Right.
So, and only one door, the door is at the back of the courtroom, like most, and then there's a center aisle, and then, the DA sits on that side, and all of the DA's witnesses on that side, and the jury's on that side. I told them about that before, and then we got the defense side over here. Anyway, so you could feel the hatred, the enmity toward me, which is carried from the hate for the client to the hate for the lawyer. Right?
I
could feel it. They didn't say anything, but they would give me, talking about the mean mug and the evil eye.
I've felt it many a day.
So I walk on in the courtroom. The trial lasted about a week and a half. No, it lasted a week.
Wow.
So I knew something was wrong because by that time I had been practicing law. It was maybe 3 years. This was in 70-something.
Wow.
No, I ran for the legislature in 72. So I've been a lawyer, 4 years?
About 4 years.
69?
Yeah, about 4 years.
Yeah, about
3.5, 4 years.
Yeah. So I knew something was wrong because the DA those conclusions, you pick it up. So and so and so and so, and then he raped me. Nothing else. No, so, okay. But I knew their side of the story. The side of the story was they were over there playing pool on their own one day, and she came over and pretended that she wanted to learn how to shoot pool. This young lady, she wanted to learn how to shoot pool, and they played around, and then she said they invited her to go to their dorm because there was a pool table in their dorm. And I asked her, were the dorms identical? And they were. Did y'all have a pool table in yours? No. Okay. And then the last thing it was a bunch of other stuff, I'm just but how did they get you unclothed? One held one arm, one held the other arm, and they got her sweater over her head without taking the hand off her arm. Now, how can you do that?
You can't.
Unless it's got buttons on it, and even then it's going to be over your shoulder. She lied. She made it all up because she was on a train with them, and word got out, and she didn't make an outcry until 2 weeks later that it had happened, when her friends were teasing about it at a basketball game and making references to whatever she had told them that had happened. And the last thing about it is one of them walked her home and gave her his phone number when he walked her home after the rape in the dorm. That was his case.
Wow. So did you get them to testify?
Who?
The boys.
I didn't know.
You did.
The reason I didn't get them to testify is because over the weekend, I was trying to decide whether I wanted them to testify or not. One of them was married, and you should never, as you know, the law doesn't permit the jury to know that one of them was married because they will hold that against them, unless there's some other reason. And he kept slipping. I was practicing them over the weekend, and he kept saying so-and-so about so-and-so's wife, which one of them was married, one of them wasn't. The other one was because his nickname was Happy Dick.
Oh, Lord.
So he slipped and said Happy Dick, and I said, no. We're not putting. So
we can't have Happy Dick on.
When they rested Monday morning, I rested. I didn't put on a witness. I cross-examined her for 3 days.
Oh, my Lord.
And she was testifying that she couldn't identify them earlier because of some,
mascara?
What's the stuff that you put in the lashes?
Mascara?
Mascara.
False lashes? Or,
Mascara. No, it was mascara. Back in the day.
Black mascara.
It's like rubbery stuff. Anyway, I had her identified. I had one of the young men's, they had a lot of student help that would help, and they helped me pick out the juries, ideas about the jury and stuff like that. I had her go buy a bottle of it, and I had the witness to identify it, make sure it's the same one, same kind, everything, introduce it in the evidence, open the wrapper, look in the back. It's non-toxic and it's waterproof.
Right.
So how your eyes get burned so bad that you can't identify these two guys that have raped you?
Right. That you were playing pool with.
That you was playing pool with. And this stuff is waterproof, which means it could not have run.
Right.
And it's non-toxic, so it wouldn't have burned your eyes. Right. So I rested when they rested.
And so she said in the courtroom she couldn't identify them?
She was explaining why it took her so long, that it took her 2 weeks to make the outcry.
Oh.
One other thing, I had just, like I said, I've been practicing law about 4 years. I found this book called How to Minimize Racism in Jury Trials by a lady named Ann Fagan Ginger.
Wow.
I don't know if you even make it anymore.
Wow.
So I created a list of questions to ask these people. And it, unfortunately, it amounted to 101 questions, which I still have. But I don't use the methodology of asking the question and get you to show hands. Mm-hmm. I started with juror number 1, venal person number 1, and I asked that person 101 questions. Mm-hmm. And when I finished, I thanked her. It was a lady. And I moved to number 2, and I started at the top of the list. And you could hear sigh all over the courtroom.
Like, oh my God.
He's gonna ask every one of these people the same 101 questions. And the reason I did is because I had students down over there. I didn't have to write down what they said. I just asked a question. I had students from out at Pan American writing down their answers on some answer sheets, like them old, them things you used to put, check yes or no, whatever your answer was.
Right.
So I had a complete list of everything that they had said and answered every one of those questions till I got 4 rows deep, which was deep enough to know that the jury was going to come from. And one other thing I did to familiarize myself with, to make, I don't know. I pretended I couldn't remember the client's name sometime. They were sitting behind me. So I would say, so-and-so, ma'am, so-and-so, so-and-so approved beyond a reason about will you find, I pretended, and they started adopting their name.
Right.
Reese. Whatever the client's name was, right?
John.
Right, yeah.
Guessing about John.
Yeah, to bring them closer to the people. Right. And the last thing I want to mention is that God was there.
Amen. God got to be there.
The courtroom, I'm telling you, girl, was at least, with the center aisle, at least 70 feet. Those same people who had hated me in their minds at the beginning of the trial formed a receiving line that lasted 2 hours.
2 hours?
When I'm packing up my stuff to leave, they got in line to shake my hand. And again, I don't use race unless it's important. Hispanic people have one of their customs is they'll say, I kiss your hand. And some of them actually do. But it's sort of like a courtesy to the queen.
Right.
You're acknowledging.
Right, right. Bow down.
I'm standing in this line, and these people are coming up and they thank me.
Is it the audience?
Yes, the people that had hated me.
Right, right, right.
People that would watch the whole trial.
They stayed and watched the whole trial.
That courtroom was packed every day.
Wow.
On both sides. And none of them were on our side, because I mean, some students there, but
Right.
their families and stuff weren't even there.
Yeah, right, right.
There's a little man about, what is that, 3 feet?
Right.
High.
Maybe 3.5.
I saw him out of the corner of my eye. Like I'm talking to you and we shaking hands, I thank you, you thank me, congratulate me and stuff like that. When his turn came, he didn't say a word. He handed me an index card, which I still have. And I looked down to read it. And it said, when in the book of history, your name is written, it will be with letters of gold.
Whoa.
And I looked up to thank him. He disappeared. I swear until my dying day it was an angel.
Wow.
He couldn't have gotten, I'm telling you, the length of the room, there was nowhere for him to go. He couldn't have gotten out of the room without me seeing him again.
And he disappeared.
He disappeared.
Wow.
And later, one of the jurors called me. I stayed in contact. Sometimes the judges try to stop you from doing that now. Stayed, with the people who are on your jury.
Right. You used to have their phone numbers. You could keep the list. But back then, you could keep the list. They make you turn it in.
Still do
now.
keep the list. I just made me a copy, but you're not supposed to.
Okay.
But don't y'all keep the list, lawyers. Anyway, called me, and she told me that she was working in her garden 2 weeks before she got the summons for jury service. And an angel came to her and told her that you're gonna have to come, there's something important for you to do, with some words to that effect, that she was gonna have to be part of it. And that's why she did the best she could to get on jury service. That's it, I'm through.
Well, I'm being told to wrap this up. So do you have any parting words for us old school lawyers, because I'm kind of old school now, or any young lawyers that you just like imparting on us? Is there anything you want to impart on us? I want to thank you for imparting part of your legal history. We all know you're a great man. And by the way, audience, I've had the pleasure and privilege of trying a co-defendant with him, so I know he's a great man.
We sure having fun, didn't we?
We had a good time.
Yeah.
Western District of
Texas.
Texas.
And your client was found not guilty, and mine was found guilty.
Well, I had a better strategy. Let's say, because I had a great client, as you remember.
Yes, I remember.
I had a great, some clients are teachable.
Right.
Some clients cooperate.
Right.
Remember, she had like an executive come testify on her
Right.
behalf. So she had all the right ingredients.
Right.
Every now and then we have that, just like
Right.
your basketball players.
Right.
I just, everything just fell into place. Every client I couldn't do that with.
She came from Central Casting.
Yeah, she came from Central Casting, and we performed that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, God was good. But I know that he's a great man. He's been a great lawyer throughout my 33 years of being a lawyer. I've always looked up to him. I find it an honor and a privilege.
Thank you.
That you came down from Bastrop to Houston, Bastrop, Texas, from your farm to Houston, to impart your knowledge and story to the listening audience. So tell your friends to watch this. It's going to be on YouTube. And watch this story because it's one of a kind. Thank you again, my beloved, my hero, my Craig Washington.
Thank you, darling.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's it.
Thank you for tuning in again. Tonight we have something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show where I try to educate